Hey guys, it's Lexi and welcome to my gift knit pattern roundup. So today I have a very large list of patterns to go over with you. Some of them are paid and some of them are free. Actually, quite a few are free, which is super nice. So let's jump in. So before we get started with our list, I just want to let you guys know that memberships are now open on my channel. So if you would like to support me in that way, please do consider joining the channel as a member. If you click down below, you'll see different options and different levels that you can join at, but I really do appreciate that. Anytime you guys contribute to the channel, whether it's subscribing, liking, commenting, or even hyping now on mobile, there's a button to hype. It does help my channel and it does keep me motivated to continue producing content. So thank you for your consideration. And if you guys watched my last pattern roundup video for holiday sweaters, you'll see that I am wearing my Augustins DK sweater again. This is her Northern Augustins number 4. She released it in 2024, I think, but I finished the pattern up at the beginning of the year. So if you're interested in learning more about this pattern or any of the other sweater patterns that I listed in my roundup, then please check out that video. I'll link it down below for you. Okay, now that we have all of the business out of the way, let's jump into this amazing list. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, I did post a gift knit pattern roundup on there. I will pop it up here for you to peruse. But that was just sort of an excerpt of the list. So if you click on my Ravelry bundle for this category, I have quite a few patterns to go through. I'm going to include chapters for you guys. So if you're looking for a certain category of gift knits, for example, bags or mittens or whatever it may be, you can kind of skip ahead and find that section below. So that'll be listed for you there, and then you can click around the chapters. All right, so the first category I'm going to talk about are bags. So the first bag pattern that I have is the Suvi bag set. I have my Ravelry bundle up here, so I'm going to refer to it to give you some details. This pattern was published in July 2024. It's a worsted weight pattern and it requires needle sizes US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needle. So this caught my eye because it's so clean looking. It almost looks like it could be machine produced or, mass produced, but it's charming because you're knitting it for someone, right? So the bag has I-cord drawstring throughout it, which I think is just a really tidy, neat way to finish things. And it's got this really sweet stripe pattern, which I think is a nice way to use up scrap yarn. There is an option to line these bags. It's not necessary. It just probably helps with stretching. Granted, I haven't made the pattern, so I really can't speak to that, but I'm sure it's an optional thing that you can put in. The other nice thing about this pattern is that it is a set, so there are different sizes that you can knit up, and it looks like there is a sunglass pouch size. So not only is that great for a gift, pretty much everybody has a pair of glasses or sunglasses, but if you're giving a gift card to someone, you could knit up the smaller size pouch and put the gift card in. I think that's a really sweet and thoughtful way to, give a gift card. Okay, so the next pattern actually is 2 patterns by the same designer, and it's her strawberry and or lemon bag pouch charm. Now, when I saw these, I just thought they were so darn cute, very giftable, very covetable, I think. They are small little pouches that, again, you could use for gift cards or chapstick or as a bag charm. And honestly, I think you could even use this as an ornament if you put a little stuffing inside of it. You could do it with scrap yarn again, and it's a small, probably quicker way to work up a little personal handmade gift for someone that's not the effort of a sweater or a larger garment. So a little bit of information about this pattern. It was released in June 2025. It's a DK weight pattern, and the needle sizes suggested are US 4 and 3.5 millimeter. Super sweet, and I would love to receive one. The next pattern I have for you guys is the mist bag. So this is kind of neat. It's given in 3 sizes. There's 3 different sizes that you can knit up, and it looks like it's done in boucle, so it kind of gives that teddy bear texture, fuzzy feel. The pattern was published in 2024, December of 2024. It's a super bulky pattern, and the needle sizes recommended are US 10 or 6 millimeter. So it's nice that they give you 3 different sizes here. If you want to do something that's more of a little handbag or clutch or something smaller, you can do that. Or if you want to do a full like shoulder bag, it looks like that's an option too. So I've seen a few of these bags kind of going around the internet. I have seen these on Ravelry over the past few years, or bags that are kind of similar to it with that boucle style yarn, and I've always wanted to knit one up, but I never did. So I'm including this as sort of an aspirational thing. Maybe one day I will. I know boucle is not always the easiest yarn to work up, so it might not be a super beginner friendly project, but if you're willing to be patient and take a little time, I do think the end result is worth the effort. So the next pattern we have on our list is the curly whirly clutch. There is a title in another language, but I will definitely butcher it, so I'll list that title as well as the curly whirly clutch. Try to say that a few times fast. That's a tongue twister. So this pattern was published in July 2021. It's a bulky weight pattern, and the suggested needle size is US 6 or 4mm. So it looks like this pattern is actually knit and then felted. You do insert a zipper as well. So kind of an interesting thing. I haven't done any felting before, but I do like the fabric that is a result of it. So I think this might be a fun project to take on. I think it's very aesthetically cute and pleasing. And you could potentially use up scrap yarn for this, especially if you have non-superwash yarn. Again, you could do patterns, you could do stripes. I think the possibilities are kind of endless here, but very sweet and definitely a thoughtful handmade gift. The next bag we have on our list is the Boulevard bag. I immediately was drawn to this and interested. So this pattern was published in April 2023. It's a bulky weight pattern, and the needle sizes are US 6 or 4mm. So it looks like you actually use plastic cable ties hidden inside these tucks to give it its shape. So it's not lined, and it does have a little bit of structure. And from what I've read, it does sound like the bag actually can fit quite a bit. So that's interesting to me. I think it's a really nice opportunity to use scrap yarn, but also a fun way to showcase some special yarn maybe that you have lying around. Single skein yarn that maybe you didn't have a project in mind for. This could be a really neat project for it. And again, it's shown here in boucle. It is difficult, it can be a challenge, but it really does look good. So the last pattern I have in this category is the Infinity Crossbody Felted Purse. Now, this really caught my eye. I thought it was so interesting the way that it was constructed. There is actually an infinity loop that serves as the closure for the bag. And again, this pattern also uses felting to create the fabric. So I just think this is really kind of interesting and structural. You know, you see a lot of leather bags, or, you know, the vegan leather bags that are in this shape, but you rarely see it with a fabric. And when you felt a fabric, it does definitely have more structure to it. So I'm kind of tempted to work this up. I don't know if it's something that I'll do in the near future. And this project probably wouldn't be, you know, a quick little pouch like we discussed, you know, the strawberry and the lemon pouches earlier. I think this would be a little bit more of a commitment, but definitely a very thoughtful and beautiful handmade gift. So just some quick details about this pattern. It was published in July of 2016. The needle sizes recommended are US 10 and 6, and this is using bulky yarn. So really neat pattern, and I had to add it to the list. Okay, so the next category we're going to talk about are mittens and fingerless gloves. So I think mittens and fingerless gloves are really great gift knits because usually they're fairly quick depending on the gauge yarn that you use, and typically they fit most people. You can make an educated guess as to what size you need to make. So I think they're really great gift knits. In fact, I knit up the penny gloves for my sister this past March for her birthday, and she uses them a lot. The first pattern we have on our list is the Coastal Drift mittens. So this pattern was published in October of 2023. It calls for DK weight yarn, and the needle sizes are US 6 and 4 or 4 and 3.5mm. So I thought this was a really striking pattern. You know, it looks fairly simple. It's basically a ribbing, and then there's stockinette, and then there's just a really simple lace panel up the middle, which kind of adds interest, but it's not very complicated or intricate. So I thought these were striking, and I would definitely love to receive a pair of these. All right, the next pattern on our list are the Pilea DK. I hope I'm saying that right. Pilea. Forgive me, I'm not sure how to say that correctly. But this is a fingerless mitt pattern. So it was released in September of 2022. It calls for DK weight yarn, and the suggested needle size is US 4 or 3.5mm needle. So I am noticing here that there was an original version of this pattern that used a thinner gauge yarn. So it looks like you can click over to that. But you know, for me personally, if I'm doing a gift knit, I don't want to go too fine in gauge because then it takes a lot longer to knit up. But that's really a personal preference. So as I mentioned, I did knit up the penny gloves for my sister, and I know that she loves them, and those, you know, they're a very classic, simple, and popular pattern, but I wanted to give you guys something a little different, spotlight something with a little bit more interest. So the thing that I like about this is that it does have kind of a very wide rib pattern on it, which is a little more interesting than just plain stockinette. I also like how on the thumb there seems to be a 1x1 or maybe a 2x2 ribbing situation. I think it just adds a little bit of extra detail and thought and makes it a little more interesting than, again, just a plain stockinette pattern. Another nice thing about this pattern is that they do offer video tutorials that come with the pattern. So that's another nice thing if this is the first time you're knitting fingerless gloves or you just need a little direction, those resources would be available for you. Next up, we have the Foss mittens. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Again, the title will be listed for you next to me here. So these are really pretty. Right now I know colorwork is sort of having a moment, especially colorwork mittens. I saw that Florence Miller had posted a self-drafted pattern. I think they're called like kitten catch mittens. So yeah, there's a lot of colorwork mittens being knit up right now or being showcased right now. So I found these because I was actually looking at another pattern by the same designer. If you guys watch my Instagram, I did put up a story where I asked you which sweater pattern you thought I should knit up with my Donegal yarn from Ireland. And one of them was by this designer, and the other was, I think, a new one by Anne Wenzel. So by the way, the results from that were like a 50-50 split. So we'll see what happens there. But while I was perusing her catalog, I saw these mittens and I just thought they were so cute. And I love the colors that she chose. So a little bit of information. This pattern was published in February 2021. It's an Aran weight pattern and the needle size is US 7 or 4.5 millimeter needle. So if you're into color work or it's something that, you know, you have a very knit-worthy person or even yourself, I think this pattern would be really sweet and also very impressive to whoever you gifted them to. All right, the last pattern we have in this category are the Madrigal Fingerless Mitts. So this pattern is actually available paid and for free. So there are options if you'd like to contribute to the designer, you can pay for the pattern, or if you'd like to just download it for free, that's an option for you too. So this pattern was originally published in March of 2025. It's a light fingering weight pattern and the needle size is US 2.5 or 3 millimeter. So this is one of those labor of love patterns. You really have to make sure the person that you're knitting these for is certainly gift knit worthy. Definitely, this is not going to be a quick, fast thing that flies off the needles. This project will take you some time. But the nice thing about it is that they're not terribly long fingerless mitts. You don't see the sleeve kind of extend up the forearm. It's fairly short, probably just covers the wrist. Looks like there's lace and cables involved, so again, you'd probably want to be a bit beyond a beginner knitter or at least be able to read charts. But I just thought they were so pretty, and you know, if you like knitting lace and cables, this could be something that uses up some stash yarn and would be very pretty to give as a gift knit. Next category we have is hats and headbands. And the first pattern I'm going to talk about is the Soft and Cushy Hat. This pattern was published in October of 2021. It's a worsted weight pattern and it calls for needle sizes US 8 or 5 millimeter. So this is actually another free pattern, which is really great. And it does come in a very wide range of sizes, all the way from toddler up to adult. So I wanted to include at least one basic chunky hat. It's nice that it is a larger gauge because it will knit up a little more quickly. And I think, you know, again, hats are one of those things that it's a great gift knit. Most people wear them throughout the colder months and appreciate them. And having something hand knit is always just so much more special. Next, we have the classic knit beret. And this is actually also by the same designer. Both of these patterns are by Pearl Soho. So both are available for free. And I do believe they both have bundles associated with them. So if you'd like to purchase the yarn for this pattern, they bundle it up for you. The pattern was originally published in February of 2025. It's a fingering weight pattern and needle sizes recommended are US 1.5 and 2.5 or 2.5 and 3 millimeter needles. So this is definitely a very fine gauge. Again, it's kind of more of a labor of love, but I'm seeing berets trend recently. I mean, really, they've always been kind of trendy. I was super tempted to buy one in Edinburgh. They had a bunch of knit shops around where we were staying, and they had almost every color under the sun in cashmere, and I was so tempted. And part of me kind of wishes I did, but I always had it in the back of my head that I might possibly knit one. So this looks like a pretty good pattern, and I think it would be super great for someone in your life who is willing to take that fashion risk, or just, you know, would appreciate a beret. Next up, we have the 10 by twist headband. I think that's how you would say that. 10 and twist, 10 by twist. Regardless, I've actually knit this pattern before in the stockinette version, and I've knit many of these, and I recommend this pattern very highly. This was published in September of 2020, and it's a fingering weight pattern knit up on US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needle. So you'll see here, she has a lot of different textures, which is super fun. I think when I purchased the pattern, it was a little more limited. There weren't as many options for different stitch textures, but I do love pretty much everything she's knit up here. And again, I will recommend the pattern. I had actually been searching for a good headband pattern, something that was comfortable, that actually looked good, because headbands can be a little tricky. First of all, not everybody likes the way headbands look on them, but they can be very bulky in strange places, and you kind of have to knit them up to see really how it looks on someone. So take it from me, I've definitely knit up a bunch of these, and they're a hit pretty much with everybody who's received them. Moving on to our next category of scarves, cowls, and or neckties. The first pattern I have is the Snuggle is Real. This is a very interesting and unique pattern in my opinion. It does look kind of like a hoodie, right? It's got those drawstrings, the I-cord, and I do believe it actually is a double thick layer of knitting. There aren't so many details on the pattern page in terms of how this is worked up, but there are a lot of people that have knit this pattern, and it looks very unisex, very comfy, very cozy, and a really nice layering piece. So this pattern was published in September of 2019. It's a DK weight pattern, and it suggests needle sizes US 6 and 4 or 4 and 3.5 millimeter needles. So again, I think the color combinations are endless for this. It's a really modern take on a cowl, and I think this could be great for a man or a woman or really anyone that you're knitting for. I've also noticed this trend lately where the hoodie design or hoodie style sweaters, cowls, dickies are all in. So I think this is very interesting. It almost looks like it could be machine made or store bought, which I think is kind of fun. Next on our list, we have the Jacques scarf. Now, side note, I actually have plans to knit this scarf up. If you guys remember, I have a bunch of leftover cashmere from several projects that I knit earlier in the year. They were all different shawls that I made as gift knits actually, but I knew I would have kind of random bits of leftover yarn, and I kind of had this project in the back of my mind. So this pattern was published in April 2025. It's a DK weight pattern, and it's knit up on US 6 or 4 millimeter needles. It says it's worked from tip to tip in garter stitch while simultaneously working I-cord and double knit edges, and there's also intarsia in here. So definitely an interesting pattern. I think it would keep you engaged and motivated, and also it's a bit of a smaller project, so great for a gift knit. Last on our list in this category, again, I'm gonna just list the name because I'm gonna butcher this title. Regardless, this pattern is actually available for free. So it was published in May of 2022. It's a DK weight pattern, and it's knit up on US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needles. You know what drew me to this was actually the stitch texture. So like I said, I have knit up several shawls this year. I've looked at a lot of different patterns, and I really haven't seen anything quite like this, especially available for free, which I think is so nice and just generous of the designer. Funny enough, this pattern is actually worked up in the same cashmere that I used for my previous shawls and scarves, which is Lang Cashmere Premium, which I can speak to highly, and I really have enjoyed working with it. So if you're looking to splurge and maybe, you know, gift something that's a little more luxurious, I can recommend that yarn, and I think this pattern would be really pretty. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to ornaments. The first pattern I have for you guys is the Elvira Angel. So this is ideal for scrappy bits of yarn, especially scrappy bits of mohair. This pattern was published in November of 2024. It's a lace weight pattern and the suggested needle sizes are US 2.5 or a 3mm needle. So it looks like also it requires you to use a wooden bead as part of the ornament, so that would be something else to consider, but I think this is a really sweet little ornament that you could put on the tree, but also put on packages or cards, or if you're gifting a bottle of wine or Prosecco or something like that. I think it would be very sweet and very cute. Next on our list is Clary Berry Baubles. I don't even think I could say that with a straight face. So this pattern was published in December 2024. It is any gauge weight, and it really depends on what size yarn you're using. So very flexible pattern. It's a 2-colored cabled Christmas bauble and can be made in 3 different versions. So essentially it's all the same color pattern, but the only difference is the direction of the cables that you're working. So what really caught me here was how bright and fun these ornaments were. I think color makes a huge difference when you're making decorative homewares or ornaments or things like that. But this definitely looks like a really fun, bold way to showcase some scrappy yarn that you have, or, you know, get it out of your stash and gift it to people in a meaningful way. All right, so now we're gonna move on to hair accessories. The first pattern I have in this category is the Romanticist's Bandana. This pattern was published in July 2023. It's a DK weight pattern and the suggested needle size is US 5 or 3.75mm needle. So it's described as a stash busting project, and it does offer one size in the pattern, but they do tell you how you can make it bigger or smaller depending on your increases or decreases, as well as adjusting the I-cord. This is another really trendy thing that I've seen a lot lately. I think this type of lace texture is really beautiful and very delicate, and I think this could be a really special handmade gift for someone. All right, next we have the Dahlia hair tie bow. So this pattern is really great because it's very scrappy. You really only need a very small amount of mohair or whatever type of yarn you're planning to use. This pattern was published in October of 2021. It's a fingering weight pattern and the suggested needle size is US 4 or 3.5. It's also a free pattern, so that's pretty great. I think this would be a really fun gift knit that you could make in pairs or like a trio of different colors if you know someone who wears this sort of thing. Very sweet, very thoughtful, and kind of trendy. So kind of along the same lines here, we have the Scrunchy Mimi. This is also a free pattern available on Ravelry. It was published in December of 2023. It's a worsted weight pattern and the suggested needle size is US 7 or 4.5mm needle. It does look like there are a few sizes available, which is kind of fun. And again, you could make kind of a little bundle for someone, but basically it looks like it's a knit tube and then there's elastic threaded through to kind of create that scrunchy elastic shape. I think you have a lot of flexibility here. There's a lot of combinations available to you, and also another really scrappy, scrap busting, quick project you could whip up. All right, so now we're gonna move on to socks. The first pattern I have on my list is the Indoorsy socks. Now this is a free pattern and also it comes as a bundle. So this pattern was published in November of 2022. It's a fingering weight pattern and it's knit up on needle sizes US 2.5 or 3mm. So the reason I like these is because they kind of look like a pack of socks, but a little more elevated. Very simple, simple ribbing or plain stockinette, but also very cozy and very pretty. I know, you know, for me, if I'm thinking of knitting a sock or even if I'm buying a pair of socks, winter is a time for cozy, thicker, woolly socks. So I think this would be a great gift knit for someone. Next up, we have the Stovall socks. Again, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But the reason these caught my eye is because they're actually designed to fit in a boot. Now, the designer and myself love the way that chunky socks look in boots, but it's not always easy to get a chunky sock to fit in your boot. So these have sort of that decorative cuff that looks very chunky, but also some really good vanilla sock pattern elements that make it sturdy and also just perfect for everyday use. So this pattern was originally released in December of 2024. It's a worsted weight pattern and it's knit up on a US 6 or 4mm needle and a US 1.5 or 2.5mm needle. So again, for me, when I'm thinking about gift knitting, I like to go for things that have maybe a bigger gauge if it's going to be a more substantial project, and I think a worsted weight sock would knit up pretty quickly. Next, we have our cozy coffee bean socks. Now, what drew me to this was the stitch pattern, which is also available as a tutorial on the pattern page, which is super helpful and very nice. I just love the texture on this sock. I think it's really perfect for winter. And another nice thing about this pattern is that it actually is available for free or a paid pattern if you would like to support the designer. Something else that also struck me about this pattern is that it would probably be a really nice way to showcase some hand-dyed yarn. As you can see in the pattern, it looks like there's a little bit of variegation in her pattern photos. So I think if you have a really special skein of sock yarn that you've been waiting to use, this might be a really nice pattern to do that. The next category is washcloths / dish towel hand towels. So the two patterns I'm going to talk about, they're both from Purl Soho and they're both free patterns. The first is Easy Scalloped Washcloth and Hand Towels. This was published in June 2025. It's a DK weight pattern and it's knit up on a US 5 or 3.75 millimeter needle. So the thing that struck me about this is that no one wants to receive like a cleaning product or you know, you don't want to receive something that's super utilitarian, but these are really pretty and special. So if you're going to knit someone a set of dish towels or hand towels for the bathroom, I think these are really pretty and very chic. Another nice thing about this pattern is that it does offer 2 different sizes, which could also be nice if you're going to plan to knit a set for someone. And then similarly, we have the tin sealing washcloth and hand towel. So again, this is another free pattern by Purl Soho, and it was published in August of 2022. It's a worsted weight pattern and the needle sizes are US 8 or a 5 millimeter. So there are 2 sizes here, and this pattern's gauge is a little bit thicker and probably would knit up a little quicker than the last that I just talked about. So if you are planning on making washcloths or dish towels for someone, I think these 2 patterns are really elevated and super nice options. The next category is stuffed animals / puppets. And the first pattern I have in here is the bunny puppet. This pattern was published in March of 2019. It's a super bulky pattern and it's knit up on US 10.5 or 6.5 millimeter needles. So I've never knit anything like this. I've never knit any stuffed animals or puppets, but when I saw these patterns, I thought these were so darn cute. Honestly, I don't know that I've ever seen any cuter patterns for something like this. And if you have little kids in your life or you know someone who would appreciate something like this, these patterns look super great. And I say these patterns because there's 3 in this category. They're all by the same designer. In fact, I'm just gonna pop them all up on the screen. We have the bunny puppet, we have the gray bear, and then there's also Scruffy Puppy. She has a lot more in her library, so if there's a specific animal that you're looking for, I would suggest checking out her entire catalog, but these are just adorable. I want one. So if you're looking for a stuffed animal pattern or a puppet pattern, I think this designer has a really wonderful selection of patterns. So the last category I have here are dog or pet sweaters. Now the one I'm going to show you guys is actually a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's the Edinburgh Seamless Dog Sweater. So this pattern was published, I don't see when it was published, but it's on Ravelry. It's a worsted weight pattern. Needle sizes suggested are US 8 and 6 or 5 and 4 millimeter needles. Actually a seamless construction, and it uses raglan increases to sort of shape the body. So I think this could be really cute if you have pets in your home or you know people that you'd like to gift something to their pet. The sweater has a lot of projects going for it. It seems like a lot of people have knit it before, and I think it's so cute, and you could definitely use up stash yarn. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna stop it here. I actually do have more patterns included in this bundle, and like I said, I'll link it for you down below so you can go have a look on Ravelry. You know, gift knitting is a really personal thing. Not every year do you want to gift knit, not for every person do you want to gift knit, but when you do want to gift knit something, it's nice to have a curated bundle of patterns that you can choose from. And as I did for my holiday sweater pattern roundup, I kind of tried to do the same thing here, where I was looking outside of the box for gift knit inspiration. I know there are some really classic patterns that Petite Knit has, and many others that are just tried and true and also really wonderful gift knits. I know Hip Knit Hooray has some really wonderful little ornament patterns. I would definitely suggest going and checking out her page. But hopefully you saw a few things here that maybe you've never seen before, or that were new to you, or maybe interested you. But let me know, is this something that you guys do every year? Which pattern would you knit out of this list? What looked most interesting to you? I'd be really curious to know. As always, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, spending this time with me. I hope it was either entertaining or relaxing as you knit along. Hopefully you got some good progress done on your project. I really do appreciate you guys supporting me and the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing, and also now hyping. There is a hype button under the video. And again, I do appreciate you guys considering becoming members of my channel. That is an option now, and if you go below the video, you'll find different levels of membership. Thank you guys for being such a wonderful community, and with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.